Hello, everyone. I always forget how harsh the end of this countdown is. It's like, boom, let's
I
go.
thought it was like going to space or something like
Yeah,
that. I was like,
yeah. I love the music. Like it gets me
yeah,
psyched. But then at the end, it's like three, two, one, boom. No transition, no fade out. Well, I'm super happy to be here with you, Luke. How are you doing?
yeah, I'm super happy to be here too. It's quite an honor to be able to do this with you and go
You.
to office hours for months, and now I get to kind of share what I worked on, which I never imagined. So yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's great for us. It'll be a case study, like encouraging people to attend office hours.
Yes, go to office hours. You'll be best friends with Joyce and Flo. They
Yeah, now
might.
Matthew is now running the office hours with Flo. Matthew joined us as education lead a couple of months ago. But yeah, love his.
So it's been a bit since I've been there, but I was spoiled. I had both of you,
Yeah,
you and
very cool.
yeah,
All right, well, let's see. Let's sum up what we're going to talk about today. So you co-founded and built Lectech, which is a tool. And like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure like I have the right picture.
yeah,
But for me, it's like a teaching tool. Like you realize that in order to teach, like I think you call it STEM in the U.S., like technology, mechanics, science. Um, you found a way to teach it in a really practical way that's fun for the kids, and it was inspired by your co-founder when
yeah,
his like is it his nephew that like was fascinated by, yeah, so
exactly.
like fascinated by the skateboard and how it was built and all that, so you put together an offer where basically you can like purchase a skateboard, learn how it works, like build it yourself, and
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah, so it's electric skateboard. So like that's
Electric
the
skateboards, yeah.
engineering part of it. Obviously, it's yeah, you have some components that actually move it and stuff other than your foot. So there's a lot to learn like in terms of mechanical, electrical engineering. So how's the battery work, the drivetrain, the gears, and like you said, it came very organically. So my co-founder is also my best friend, Jared. We met in college. He actually is far more fascinating than I am. He started a business when he was 15, which was electric skateboards, but for adults.
Okay.
He like really wanted one. We used to like watch this famous YouTuber named Casey Neistat. He'd go around New York. He's the whole reason why I wanted to come to New York. And for Jared, he wanted to buy one, but couldn't afford it, so he decided to build it himself. And then posted about it on like a forum. People started asking if they could buy it, and then made a whole business out of it. And then yeah, that pretty much he was able to teach himself mechanical, electrical engineering. It's just like that's how he wanted to learn, and gave it to his nephew for Christmas in 2021. Already put together those ones that you put together, but those were like adults, so they're high
Yeah.
performance. They could go like 40 miles per hour, which is crazy. So it's just very funny. It was like, all right, Brian's old enough. He was turning 7 or 8, and he's like, yeah, you can give it to him for Christmas. He thought he'd want to just go ride it like Christmas morning, so he gave it to him put together already, and turned out like he wanted to take it all apart and learn all about it. So spent hours doing that, and then yeah, the actual idea was, Jared's sister was like at the end of it, she kind of just let him do his thing, and at the end she's like, "Hello, like, do I need to slap you? Like, you should do this for kids. Like, this is how you learned.
Yeah.
It has that real world applicability. Like, that's something we struggle with. Is like, so many things are in a classroom. They're super cool and a lot of fun, but it doesn't get outside the classroom, and having that barrier, and you're always asking like homework, like, all right, like, when am I actually going to use this? Like, this is our answer to that, and just how we wish we
Yeah,
learned.
for sure. And honestly, I wish as a kid I had like a class like that, because I remember like most of my science class I didn't find very interesting. Like even though there are topics that I find interesting like in my personal life, but in school it
Yeah,
was just kind of, oh, yeah. Anyway, but for everyone in the stream, everyone in the chat, if you want to just to like, yeah, the idea is we're going to stream for about 45 minutes, go through your story, Luke. Tomorrow, like you and your co-founder actually did Shark Tank. You were on Shark Tank, and it's aired tomorrow in the US on ABC. So I'd love to. The idea is to have a conversation, and we'll interrupt with questions from the chat if there are any. But to have a conversation about like how you got started. You told us a little bit how
yeah,
you chose, like a little bit your background as well. We'll cover that a little bit so people get an understanding that you're not a hardcore developer. Like you have more of a product background through your work at Amazon and studied finance and data analytics, I believe. So, it wasn't like it's not like it was on the cards your entire life. Like you grew up like you were gonna do that, and in the end, you end up like building a product in 8 weeks, appearing on Shark Tank, and having a legitimate business, thanks to tools like Shopify, Xano, WeWeb, are like the three kind of no-code tools you're using. So yeah, I'd like to like we'll get this covered, cover all the obstacles you overcame, how you overcame them, and all of that, so that hopefully people watching can like be inspired to give it that they realize it's possible for them to put their ideas, at least to try to put their ideas out there to build something, and maybe give them a few tips to like maybe not avoid mistakes that you've made basically. So all right, can you tell us a little bit about your background? You
Yeah,
mentioned like
certainly. So I thought since high school I was going to go into finance, go into banking.
banking.
I went to
Wow,
a
that's
conference,
all right.
investment banking life, just do Excel for crazy hours. But yeah, I was presented to in high school, and I just loved everything about it. I loved math, and science was never my thing growing up. Like I was very intimidated by it. It was probably what I put the most amount of effort in terms of a class, but
Yeah.
got the worst grades
Oh,
in.
I had that with
Had
history.
that
Yeah,
really,
I put a lot of
yeah,
effort, but no grades. The grades didn't follow. But I think science is the case
yeah,
for a lot of
100%.
people.
Yeah, it just never clicked, I
Yeah.
guess, and like I lost my confidence probably like pretty early, and that's that. There's a lot of research that shows like that's a common
Yeah.
thing, like you're mentioning. And anywho, it went to school in New York. Was trying to recruit for banks. Somehow, like freshman year, I got an internship at the time was one of the largest engineering companies as a product manager. I don't know why they took me as a freshman, but it was an amazing experience, and I learned a lot from that. And then it actually came till 2020. I was studying abroad in Italy, got sent home, but I was recruiting for internships for a banking internship for the summer, and everything was canceled.
Oh, yeah,
So
because
at
that
that
was
point, like,
like COVID and lockdown, right? Yeah.
yes, exactly. So got sent home from Italy, and then like the internships I had pretty much like offers in were all canceled. So I had a summer just to kind of do whatever, like everyone else at home, and was playing a lot of video games because everyone was playing video games at the time with all my buddies. And then one day, my good friend from where I grew up, he was a software engineer intern at Snapchat, so his internship wasn't canceled, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to learn to code?" And at the time, I was like, I mean, I have literally nothing better to do. It's
Yeah.
better than my brain keeps going for months on end. And I thought it would make me kind of more competitive to be able to recruit for next year for banking. So I was like, yeah, why not? And then we spent a couple of hours. It was just Swift. He like
Okay.
just deployed on the App Store an app that he was working on at school, and it was literally just a button. Like you click it, and it says you are a clown with a clown emoji. Like it was just so absurd. Like he's like, "What do you want it to look like?" I was like, "Sure, why not that?" And I was like, I was fascinated
Okay.
though. Like it was really good to see, and it really
So it was more
reminded
like
me of
programming than coding. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
programming, and was just like Swift gives you a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to work off of. It wasn't really like I wasn't seeing a ton of code. You kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
worked through a little bit, but it reminded me of proofs in geometry.
Okay.
Like you have to write down every single step,
Yeah.
like that. It was computational thinking before I even knew it, and I really liked that and enjoyed it. So then I spent the rest of the summer just trying to learn code and got into like data camp to try to teach myself it. And yeah, I was able to add another major that next
Okay.
semester, and it was data analytics, and that was more like getting the SQL, Python, R, all that cool stuff, and I just loved it. Had the best
Oh, okay. So
professor, and
definitely
then
writing code by that point, like typing and yeah. Yeah.
yeah, writing a little bit, and then eventually, like Amazon was the only tech company I applied to. I was like, why not? Like this it was a business analyst role. I was like, this kind of fits what, yeah, I might be interested in. And they took me as an intern. And I was like, amazing. I thought for me, like I could go maybe back to finance, but it'd be really hard to go from finance to tech. So I was like, let's try it. And then went out to Seattle, had an incredible experience. And to keep a long story short, which is definitely really long right now, I was able to come in as an analyst, but on an engineering team on one of like the top data science teams. And I was like the youngest on the team by 10 years, like the only one without a master's or PhD, and just, yeah, it was just kind of sink or swim. And I really enjoyed learning it and had a ton of fun. I was able to become an engineer and get that nice title because I was just working all day, every day. And now, obviously co-founded Lect and trying to spread that same experience. So like if I never was introduced to coding, like didn't have that one moment, I'd be in banking right now for sure, and probably wouldn't love what I do. And that completely changed like my trajectory. Like everything after that was super lucky to have happened, but like that was kind of like the spark. And when Jared brought me like as his best friend, I knew about Lect and what he was trying to do. And yeah, he asked me to leave and try to give like that same experience, that same moment to other people, other students, and try to like inspire the next generation of engineers. Nice. So yeah, it was a good, easy decision, even though there's no salary on the other but
that's the life of an entrepreneur. Paulo is saying, hello, Brazilian here. Well, hello from France. WeWeb is fantastic. After several projects in Bubble, our agency is migrating to WeWeb. That's really cool. Glad you're enjoying it, Paulo. Would love to know like what kind of projects you're planning to build in WeWeb. And actually, that's a pretty good transition, Luke. Like in terms of like no-code platforms, like right now, so the website, like the marketing website, is on Shopify because it's like e-commerce, and Shopify is like the best tool for that, for sure. And then for the web app, for the like LMS, for the learning management system, you build that on WeWeb and Xano. Did you have a look at other tools? Like how did you choose WeWeb and Xano and Shopify? What was your reasoning?
Yeah, so to take it back even a step, like while I was at Amazon, like I definitely was not the best coder. I will say that, admittedly. Like everything was self-taught, and I had amazing people around me, and they helped me a lot. So I learned really quickly, and definitely got my SQL skills up and some Python. But like I compared to other people, especially yourself and just so many others, like they're just wizards. Like I'm not.
I am not either. I am not either, by the way. People are often surprised because I recorded a bunch of video for the Academy, but I'm not a developer. So I think both you and I are like proof that you can build things and learn these programming concepts without being, the best at it.
100%.
We can still do cool things.
100%. Yeah. So then the reason why we had to build our learning management system was, we spent a whole year in school, and we've just been getting feedback. We did like a beta testing program with like 30 kids and parents, and just got like a lot of feedback on like the hardware side of things. And everyone thought it was a really cool product, but especially in the educational space, a teacher thinks it's really cool, but their main question is like, how do I teach this? And so we had to have, we want to have like an awesome end-to-end experience, like not just building it and getting to ride something cool, but teaching it and also learning about it. Like that's the most important part of this all. So we wanted a platform to be able to serve that. And actually like the real root cause of like where we started the LMS at first was we worked with a nonprofit in the US, and they have like this awesome platform. Kids from 13 to 18 can go there, they can complete tasks, and they can redeem it for like
what's it called
and stuff. It's called Evolve Me.
Okay.
So the American Students Assistance is the nonprofit that we worked with, and essentially they worked with us to create educational content of building electric skateboards, so getting further in depth with like the battery, the gears, the motor. There's some animated videos, some web games, and all that cool stuff. And we needed to be able to serve that to the users on the platform. So we needed something that was, a lot of the out-of-the-box LMSs that are out there just don't have the capability of you customizing it to what you need. So we decided to build it from the ground up. But we only had like 2 months to do it. And I am not a front end. I don't know anything about front end, definitely not full stack. So like Jared was like, all right, we got to get it done. And obviously he was working like the hardware, so it was kind of neat to figure this one out. And so he actually is the one that spotted WeWeb. That's what he saw first. And for me, like I was like, I'm gonna do this in AWS. Like I know Amazon, like nah, like I'm good. I'll figure it out. My buddy in Seattle, he's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like 2 months, that's a hard timeline, but try it. And then yeah, after some convincing from Jerry, he's like, yeah, you should really take a look at this. Look at like the documentation, just check out like what people are building it. And yeah, WeWeb is where we started. I was like, that's phenomenal. Like that looks so cool. And like for me to learn full stack and be able to build this full platform in 2 months, like I'm gonna need something like this. I can't be writing React, JavaScript. I did it for like a couple of days, and I knew from that like this is not gonna work out for me. So yeah, that's where it started. And then Xano, honestly, we didn't really look at like any other front end providers. Like WeWeb was kind of where
amazing. I love to hear that.
it was top of his list, and I was like, yeah, this looks phenomenal. And then, in terms of looking at the back end, it was really between like Xano and Supabase, just because those are two main platforms that WeWeb integrates with. And the ultimate decision for that was, even though Supabase uses a lot of SQL and that's predominantly like what's run on, like I didn't even know what an API was. Like I've never even used one before. I legitimately like looked up on Google like what is an API and learned it's two softwares talking to each other. I didn't know what the different types of APIs were, anything like that. So Xano, I think like
it's more visual with the endpoints and the function stack. Yeah. I mean, I love both platforms, but it's like, yeah, Xano is a bit more visual.
Yeah, and it has the ability like to be able to use SQL. So I use like a lot of custom SQL when I need to, and even like Lambda code when I have to lean on that. But like the function stacks make it so easy to understand like what's going on, and just overall to finish up the answer, like the documentation between WeWeb and Xano, and like obviously office hours, but just all the videos and stuff. Like, yeah, that's huge. Like basically you and Flo and obviously the team members from Xano like legitimately taught me how to do this. And
so great to hear. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing the link to the Lect website in the chat for anyone who wants to check it out. And in the chat, if you have questions, really don't hesitate. We can can't find the word, but we can interrupt. We can get to your questions. No worries. And I find it super interesting that and you're not the only one from the users I talked to that, the digital side of the product came later, that you already had, a business, a proof of concept, and you were solving, like the digital part came with a problem you needed to solve as to how to teach, how to actually teach this thing at scale, which is really cool. And like, so for the learning management system, do you already have a little bit of insight into like, is it still at the phase of prototype, that site, or is it already like people are using it? Have you already iterated on this?
Yeah, fully deployed and have iterated on it a lot. Honestly, to be fully transparent, like it was mimicked, honestly, like duplicated from WeWeb.
Oh, from the template, right. Yeah, I'll share that in the chat as well.
Like that, yeah, please. It that jump started. Yeah, I saved so much time because like for me, like Jared's very visual and very good at designing. I'm not as much. Like I can critique things and enhance on it. Like I love reverse engineering things and really getting to the bottom of like how things are built. And then I mean I think it's really important to be able to know that and then enhance it and be able to work on it more. So yeah, that was way back in. We had it deployed in production in like February of last year.
Okay.
Actually January, and yeah, we've just been improving it ever since. So we've added like the main thing that's on the platform is our assembly tutorial.
Okay.
So being able to actually put together the parts to build it. So there's pictures and videos going through like every single step. So that's like the part that looks really similar to the WeWeb Academy, just because it's a great design. And yeah, I was able to use the template and then teach myself like what these different components are doing, like how is it working with an array and then doing all these functions and workflows.
So you kind of
like
retro-engineered the template. You started from the template and then you tried to understand how it worked. Very nice.
Exactly. So it's a little bit different, obviously, in terms of like what you're doing on each step compared to the WeWeb Academy. But then, yeah, improve that. Have added a bunch of stuff there, like videos in between the steps, and you can toggle it, it checks progress, all that good stuff. But really, like the bigger piece of the LMS is more so like on our lessons side of things. So we have curriculum. This is what I was mentioning before. Like teachers thought it was a really cool product, but they didn't know how to teach it. So for us, we'd have to provide the curriculum, so it lays out what they need to do to teach certain lessons to be able to hit certain science standards in the U.S. So yeah, we have about 20, a little over 20 lessons on the LMS, where it's totally different than before. Like you click on a lesson and it goes by modules, and you're able to go through a lesson. So it's, for example, if it's teaching you about collisions, there's at the forefront of it, like the beginning is a little bit of vocabulary, some key terms, concepts, but actually have some videos from Tesla
Nice.
showing crash tests. And then it gets more in depth, like there's question and answers, there's flashcards, and then every single lesson is setting up an experiment to actually use like the hardware, use the skateboard, the scooter in experiments. And so that's where like the meat of it is now. And there's a lot built around it, like user authentication, user management. So working with students and teachers, well, first of all, like it's paid, so to be able to get access to the curriculum, it has to be a subscriber to it to get the license.
And that's through Shopify, right?
So yeah. So initially, schools are very manual, even nowadays. So it's a lot of manual, like POs and purchase orders and stuff like that. So that's typically where Shopify handles all that.
And because you have inventory as well, you have the skateboards. So
yes, exactly. It's awesome at like operations, tracking orders, fulfilling it. That's keeps track of all of that, and then I can then give access, or like an administrator, to someone on the team can give access to a teacher, and then that teacher could then share a code to students. So that's so I had to play around a lot with like the user auth and managing all of that, because there's obviously cookies and all that good stuff to know about and be aware of, which I didn't. So I just failed a bunch of times, and then it works now. Mostly not good. So played around with that, and it looks a little bit different than it was.
Cool. And I remember from office hours, you had it seemed to me like you were paying a lot of attention to the user experience. I remember you trying to work on transitions and like, the flow of the page. Would you say that was harder, or authentication was harder? Like, I'm curious as to like you mentioned authentication was like, you had to iterate a lot. You had to fail a lot before you got there. Like, are there other things where you found that were obstacles that you had to kind of, overcome? And
Definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of it at the start is just learning how a front end and back end works together. I think that was like a really
Matthew just published like a bunch of videos on the topic, so hopefully they will help future users. you had to learn on your own.
Yeah.
So learning front and back end,
Definitely.
like the interaction between both. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think like just having a good understanding of like what is supposed to be in the front end and what's good, like better to have in the back end. Like I think it just takes a little bit to get there, but once you fully understand, like there's so much awesome stuff that you guys put out to be able to explain, like, all right, this is why this is, which is really important. Not just saying like you should do this in this way. So like that was a challenge, just to kind of get that basic understanding.
And so that was like through the academy. You learned that through the academy directly, or?
Yeah, I think that was like a lot of office hours too.
Awesome.
And you guys like mentioned like a lot of this is great to be like WeWeb has some plugins that are for WeWeb.
Yeah.
It's all on the front end. It's not connected to the back end, but there's a lot of like, all right, this is cool just to like kind of learn with, but like this is actually better to hold in the back end and security wise and being able to understand that. And I think that was just tough because like that was one of the first things, and then stuff you just get better at as time progresses.
All right, cool. And by the way, just for people watching, so you're watching this on YouTube, the office hours are streamed live on YouTube like every Tuesday. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see like the next office hours is already scheduled, and you can just kind of hit notify and join us there. And the idea is like, what you did is, I think it was for maybe, I don't know, I would say like 6 weeks in a row. Maybe you showed up every week and and we just iterated, and that's awesome because it's just like maybe 10 minutes of sharing your screen, and for us it's much easier, for example, because you share your screen, so we really understand the context, and it's it's easier than in a Discord or a forum where it can take a lot of back and forth. So I think it's a tool that's out there. I know Xano does a lot of office hours as well, so I would definitely encourage anyone who who's comfortable sharing their screen anyway to do that, to hop on a call with Xano or with us, or whatever tool you're using. I think it helps a lot to have like a person that you can talk to and even clarify your question, because sometimes the question is just even in your head, it's not too clear what you're trying to achieve, you know. And I don't mean you, Luke. I mean
Yeah.
anybody in general.
I think there's like 2 points. Like one, I think like the hardest problem is knowing what problem to solve, obviously, and like that was, yeah, the community is amazing, and I absolutely love it, and I've spent so much time on there. And then, but it's like if you could get 10 questions in and then realize, oh, I'm not even thinking
Yeah.
about like the right thing. So like cut all that in a couple minutes, obviously with experts like you guys, and then yeah, I think like the second thing is even if you don't have a specific problem, it's still super helpful to be able to go to office hours. Like I've had it where I've signed up for office hours. I was like, I have this problem I'm having. I solved it like an hour before office hours, but I still go. I mean, there's probably another problem I had or question. Like I always had like 4 things I needed to do, but also it's just good to learn about what other people are working on and seeing what platforms they're using and just seeing what problems they're fixing and solving and how to do that too. Because I'm sure there's been plenty of times where I saw somebody doing something better and I was like, okay, should think about it that way, or two, like having that same problem down the road, and I knew where to look at.
And I really love how supportive people are, and like, you know, people just offering help in the chat as well, and you know, saying, "Ah, you can ping me in the community," because you know we try to help as much as we can in the community, but sometimes, you know, depending on the priorities and the product and just, you know, our day to day, it can be hard. So it's really nice when community members like help out each other. It's I don't know, I feel it's on a personal level anyway, I find it very rewarding. And I'm curious, like,
Definitely.
what were like, so, you know, kind of, I think everybody knows that no code is, some of the benefits are no code is like, you know, you can build with more autonomy, you know, even if you can't write code. And so that makes it faster to iterate if you don't have a developer on hand to code for you. And some will argue it's cheaper, some will say it's actually more expensive, because you know it depends. But what would you say are some like unexpected benefits of no code? What surprised you when you built with WeWeb and Xano, where maybe you didn't think that was going to be a benefit but it turned out it was?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was, first of all, just shocking how great it is, and it's 100% like the future. Like I obviously use ChatGPT for, you know,
Yeah,
as much as you
that was
can. And
before we integrate, because on Wednesday we're doing a big release with like AI integrated in your flow, so you won't even need to go outside to it'll change your life.
yeah, that's great. And obviously the constant improvement of WeWeb is amazing to see, as you're mentioning. But yeah, I think, you know, you're able to make really cool stuff on ChatGPT, just asking it to do it. But like at a certain point, it's harder to do it than anything else, and it's just like you're constantly just prompting it to, like, the context window isn't that high. It's just becomes more of a hassle than anything. And like the other option without, you know, no code tools is be able to understand everything JavaScript, HTML, like CSS. Like these are obviously not like the most difficult languages to understand, but like that's your other option. And there's so many different, like React, and there's Vue.js, and there's just so many, like it's so overwhelming at start. So like this takes away all of that. Like it's super visual, especially workflows. Like that is just so awesome to see, because it breaks it down like step by step, and you can do so many powerful things with that. And being able to understand the business logic quickly and be able to implement changes or improvements, it handles all of that extremely well. So it puts it all together. It's visually pleasing, and even when there's debugging, like that's huge. It shows like a red box, like this is where the error is happening. You break it down, like, okay, these things before are working. I can see the console log, and I can see like this is giving me the return I want. So what's going on here? Like this is where I need to focus on. That's huge.
Very cool. And if you had to start over, is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think so. I think it all was important to learning, you know, the different components, and getting to a point where like I was comfortable with what elements are out there, and what needs to be done to like modify and stuff. I think one game changer has been the introduction of the marketplace, and being able to see, like, you know, just be able to not use, but like reference other people's work,
Okay,
and like
interesting.
people are
Can you
just
recommend a
so awesome.
few? Can you recommend like a few,
Yeah,
yeah, components or UI kits that you'd like to maybe give a shout out to? I'll try to share them in the chat.
yeah, a couple. So first being WeWeb Academy, of course. Two, like the starter kit, just to like just have all of these buttons that look great, and you can just take that over and change it as you wish. I think two really good ones too was a JP. He created like a flashcard game. But no, it wasn't. Sorry, it was a memory card game where like you
Yeah.
can
What did you use
guarantee.
that for?
I used that to then create
Very
flashcards because
nice.
there wasn't
Amazing.
a component where you can like flip it like that. So I was able to, he created like a custom, not a custom component, but used
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
I
JP,
can't remember.
amazing designer. I'm trying to find
Yeah.
his.
And he was super helpful. I could reach out to him and he helped
Ah,
me
he's
with
an
that.
amazing
And
guy. Yeah.
he is, yes. So those are the main ones I can think of at the top of my head. But there's plenty of other great ones. And it's just super like you can just duplicate it over. You can reference it as you wish. And to all the people that have made these and put all this time into it to be able to like improve everyone else's life, such as myself, where I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure things out, and it's not going to look nearly as good as what they did. Like, yeah. So thank you to all of those people.
Yeah. And Ryan is saying Stack Pack WeWeb UI kit is fire. All right, let me find it as well and link to it as well. Um,
I'll have to take a look at that
yeah.
one too.
Do you mean the one?
There's been a
Do you
lot of
mean the
new
one
ones.
by Rarely Decaf, Ryan? Or I'm not sure I can find it in. Can you share the link in the chat, Ryan? That'd be great. Maybe it's not on a marketplace. Maybe because some people also do. You can also find some WeWeb UI kits that are kind of outside our marketplace because the person prefers to like, handle the payments and all of that. And I mean, yeah, we're always astonished. Oh, by Micah. Okay, very nice. And I thought Micah had his stuff on the marketplace, but maybe Micah also like great, yeah, great designer, great builder, very super helpful. Like when I was saying, like I love how people members of the community help each other in the office hours. Like Micah is one of them. Always offering help. Yeah, it sounds cheesy, but it genuinely warms my heart. When that happens, when I
Yeah,
see that in the community or in office hours. But thanks for the
yeah.
recommendation, Ryan. I'll try to find it.
I think like sorry, I was gonna say like the community and how we're thinking about it from our side too is like obviously it's amazing to get help from experts and stuff like that, but from like the LMS for Lect, like we hope in the future we'll have a community where because there's a lot of I mean we haven't touched too much on like the hardware side of things, but essentially like all the components are modular. You're able to build other electric vehicles if you'd like. So like we have a scooter,
Nice.
we have a skateboard. It's just a frame reality is the difference. It's the same electronics but you could use that to then electrify other things. So we have a school in Georgia that wanted to electrify a wheelchair. So like having these projects on our side, like a community where teachers and students and anyone that's using light tech can like kind of throw those things in there. And yeah, definitely. I hope the community might be a template I can then use when when that time comes. But
Yeah, we can build one. We can build one. Right now, we use
yeah,
Discourse as a form. But yeah, it would
okay,
be nice. I actually
yeah,
thought about like building our community in WeWeb. But it's always the same, depending on like if you build your own tool. I mean, in your case, it's different. You're an entrepreneur, but as internal tools, whether you purchase a product or build your own, sometimes it's just a question of speed, where you're like, okay, I prefer to pay like $50 a month, and it's off the shelf, and it's not perfect, but it's fine. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
all right, cool, very nice. Um, y-
Love that
yeah.
one. I don't know what went onto his plate.
Sorry, what?
Said add another one onto Flo's
Yeah.
plate. I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll love
Flo
that.
has many plates. He has many plates, and he's juggling. He's pretty good at juggling. Hey? He impresses me a lot. Um, and yeah, I mean, if anyone has any question about like the building of the project, a thing like that, feel free to ask. But I wanted to kind of switch gears and talk about like the Shark Tank experience. Like, can you walk us through like more of the entrepreneurial journey? So you mentioned the beginning of the journey. You mentioned it took like,
Yep.
you had 8 weeks to build the offer. Was that the entire? You mentioned that like that was for the LMS, or what? That was for the entire thing.
Yeah, that was just for the
Okay, so
LMS.
it's when the
We
teachers express their needs, you're like, okay, I have eight weeks to do that, to do the LMS and WeWeb Xano.
yeah,
Okay, very nice. And when was that? When did you?
yeah. So I was pretty much put it off. Like I was just playing around with stuff and trying to research until I think like end of November was like the final. It was like Thanksgiving. I remember like starting to really get
Okay.
into it. So yeah, 3 months and it was completed by end of January. So
Okay, nice.
yeah, and then
And how did the?
the
Sorry,
hardware
go
side.
ahead. The
I,
hardware.
use- I was gonna say just the hardware. Yeah, that's been years in the
Yeah,
making.
yeah, for
So
sure.
that's
I
been a
can
little bit long.
imagine. Um, and the idea for Shark Tank, how did that come? Like, because I'm assuming you have to like be a candidate, right?
Yeah, so it's incredibly
Okay.
competitive, and so I actually started with Jared before I had left Amazon, like still just helping out as his best friend. Somebody did recommend, like, yeah, you should definitely try to get onto a Shark Tank. Like, this is a great Shark Tank
Okay.
product, and he's like, yeah. So we everyone grew up watching it, especially in like the U.S. Like, it's played in schools and like entrepreneurship class, and
Oh,
yeah,
I did not know
and
that. That's really
so yeah,
cool. I knew it was popular, but I didn't
yeah,
realize it was being played in entrepreneur. Okay.
yeah, I remember like Miss Festy was my entrepreneurship teacher, and we watch it like every week, and it's a really good way to learn. Like, it's
It
honestly really
sounds
like
like your teacher didn't want
fundamentals
to
of.
teach and just put on a TV show. No judgment.
She was she was the best. She was the absolute goat. She would break things
Yeah.
down, like one thing like an offer was happening, and talk about the equity, royalty, and
Wow,
all
very
kinds of stuff
nice.
like that. So yeah, so it was always a dream for both of us, and Jared was like, yeah, why not? So he applied, but that was before we even had revenue. This is back in 2022,
Oh, wow.
and
So in 2022, you only had the skateboards, right?
yeah, we only had the skateboards. We only had a beta testing program and some feedback,
Wow.
and that was
Okay.
it. Like, there was no revenue. There was just Jared pretty much on the team, and yeah, so he applied, and out of the tens of thousands of applications, they picked his. So a producer like reached out and was talking to him, and yeah, and essentially like for that season 15, it ultimately wasn't able to get on the show, and it was just like it wasn't a no or a yes. It was just they said like it was too
Okay.
early, and so yeah.
Too early
Fast
and
forward a
like your
year, I joined the
project is
team.
not mature enough. So they want, when they look for a
Yeah,
project, they have some criterias, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's reality TV, so it's whatever's gonna be best on the TV show. To be frank, I mean, everyone's pretty transparent about that. So it's about the personality of like the
Okay, so
entrepreneur.
they needed you and Jared to fight on air, right? No.
Well,
No, we do.
we do. I will say the only sneak peek I can say is we do make fun of each other and
Okay,
quiz each
nice.
other. So I think you'll like it. And yeah, so essentially it was like it's just too early. Like the product is cool, it's a cool idea, but like there's not too much to work off of, and a lot of the products and companies are on Shark Tank. Like a lot of them have a good amount of success. Like it's proven a little bit, and then yeah. So for us, applied again for the next year, season 16, and then somehow it's a long journey.
Yeah.
Like
So they kept in touch with
awesome.
Jared and
Yeah, we
oh,
reached
you reached
out
out
and,
again.
and
Okay,
was
nice.
able to. Yeah, we had like the contacts from like the previous that we like previously worked with, and they were always like interested, like they wanted to know more about like updates and stuff like that. So we just kept doing it, and then somehow we just got super lucky and
Ah,
was
it's
able
not luck. It's
to
not
get
luck.
flown out to LA.
And the
Yeah,
type of people.
a little bit.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but you also make your own luck. Like you kept going, the project, kept growing, and I'm assuming, they gave you notes that first time and you build on those notes. And I'm curious, like the people you were interacting with, like, I mean, I guess they're like the people in charge of casting the show, but do you know their backgrounds? Are they business people? The people like how do yeah, how did you interact with them? What's your impression of like why do you think you got lucky? if you want to attribute it to
Yeah.
luck, I refuse to, but I will use your word.
No, that's great. That's a great question. I think I don't know about their backgrounds. It's mostly like it's obviously a show, so you're working with like
Yeah.
producers and things like that. But I think after 16 years of doing this, and like they have a good
Yeah.
idea of like what's good and like what the sharks might be interested in, and or like what is just going to be good TV. Or they don't tell us anything of like what the decision
Okay.
process is. It's all like
Okay,
under
so they weren't giving you
it's like
feedback necessarily. It was just like
they help you like craft, and then ultimately like there's other people making the decision that are like higher up, and like yeah, it's they just believe in it or don't, and then
nice.
they take a chance. That's pretty much it. It's really cool.
And Ryan is saying, I'm dating myself, but we used to watch Trump's Apprentice show in all our high school business classes. Well, I will date myself as well, Ryan, and say that's, the show that was popular back when I was traveling to the US fairly regularly. Um,
That's so funny. I was just at a school before this and was talking about it, and the teacher said the same exact thing.
yeah. So different generations. So I'm with you, Ryan. And okay, very nice. And so what was pitching like? Did you have any what was it like? It's
Yeah,
not at all the
yeah.
same
Unfortunately,
exercise as building a product. So
no, it's completely different. I can't talk to like we were under NDAs and stuff like that, so I can't
okay.
like it's considered trade secret of like the product, but like the overview like it's a lot of pressure for sure. Like it is what it is. Like you see the show as it is. Like there's what you see is what you get. Like they edit the show in terms of like getting things shorter because it's typically more than like what they actually in terms of length and they have to fit into an episode. So but yeah, it was so cool. Like get flown out to LA, you're like on the Sony lot,
Just that
and
sentence
you
is
see like
amazing. Being flown out to LA is a really cool sentence. Just say.
there's a video on our Instagram that it's like we get picked up at the airport and they're like, what do you want to play? And so we played the Miley Cyrus song. Like we're out there. You had to just got to get in the moment, but it was a ton of fun, and being with Jared helps a ton, and we just had a
Very
blast.
nice. Just shared your Instagram on in the comments because I did not post the stream on Instagram, but if people want to hang out with you there. But in terms of pitching, I was more curious as like you as an individual. I don't mean like necessarily like any behind the scenes of Shark Tank. That's something different. But
Yeah.
what would you say you learned in terms of pitching? Is there anything like so for people watching like entrepreneurs like starting a business and trying to like building the product is almost the easy part, you know. Almost. It's not easy, but the business side of things, I think, is something that people tend to neglect or not anticipate how hard it will be. You think like I remember for me when I started a business years back, I had a target of 100 customers. 100 seemed like a very achievable number. Like it seems so easy. 100 customers, it's not easy. Like, so I'd love to know if you have any insights as to if you would give any advice on that front, or maybe it's more of a Jared thing. I don't know, but can you share a little bit your experience? Maybe the advice is to get a good co-founder. I don't know.
Maybe that's why I joke with him. I was like, yeah, you applied without me, and then you applied with me, so it has to be the reason I have to be it. No.
Of course.
I think it's for us, it was very organic. Like we had a really cool story to start the business. Like it just like that's just by chance. To giving it to his nephew for Christmas and seeing this, and yeah, so like that helps a lot. Like I think investors, or like if you were presenting in front of even clients and stuff like that, like having that background of like this is more than like a business for like the person. Like there's obviously a lot of just like really cool businesses, like even like salt and pepper shakers. Like that's a cool business, but it's like this has a lot more meaning to us, and being able to like express that and like express our passion. I think like that's really viewable from the other side and other people's perspective, and they can kind of feel that, and that's really important to be able to connect deeper than like, okay,
Yeah.
it is a business at the end of the day. There's money, there's numbers. That's extremely important. But like, what else does this mean to you? Because so many startups are going to fail. Like, you're going to come into just so many different obstacles. So like, you're as an investor, like relying on these people. They're going to get through this, and they're going to do it in a really good way. But also just like keep pushing it and just keep going. So like that's important, because if without like that belief and like that confidence and yeah, like that passion for it, like there's a really low chance it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Like it takes that. So I think that's the only advice. It's like if you're passionate about it, go for it. If it's not, then it's going to be a long road. It's definitely possible, but
Yeah.
like it's important to have that strong feeling.
And I think it's like even the like I would say even the passion, like passion is something that can die out. So it also needs to be
Yeah,
something that you can, you know, that's so deep that you won't get bored of it in 5 years. Like, and I think what you mentioned at the beginning and about like helping kids, like that, you might get bored of skateboards, but I doubt that you will get bored of
yeah,
helping kids. You know what I mean?
100%.
So yeah, and I hadn't. It's funny because when you were saying this, I realized that my one of my first reactions when you told me the story was that I identified, because I identified with kids who were bored in science class, you know, but who would have been like super excited by an actual, you know, building and putting stuff apart and understanding how it works. That would have I would have loved that. And I think
Yeah,
if you could get that emotion to potential users and customers, you've already won. Like,
100%.
I know like I'm a marketer, and a big thing in marketing is like, you know, making people feel the pain of not having your product. um I guess in this case, the customer is not the kid; it's actually the school, you know, the teacher. But and in that case, it's not so much feeling the pain of not having your product, but more like the joy of having your product, because they're gonna see like kids' faces light up because
Yeah,
they're gonna have so much fun, and they're gonna love going to class and learning with that teacher. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really cool.
It's about like just the experience, you know, like it's a really cool product and
Yeah.
project, but it's a lot more to that. And for us, like, yeah, it's motivating, like when you're able to be able to work with a new school and organization. But like we get like emails and texts like about, you know, stories of, you know, students using it
Oh,
and stuff like that, and
yeah.
like that means 10 times more. Like obviously we need to keep the business going. It's expensive to be able to run a business,
Yeah,
but
of course. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what it's all about for us.
That's really cool. Amazing.
Thank you.
Well, I think we've covered like a nice part of the journey. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything important to you that you wanted to get out there? Aside
No,
from watch the show tomorrow in the US?
tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ABC. It's also on Hulu the next day. But yeah, I think I really want to just thank you and the whole WeWeb team. Like, you guys, this would not be possible without you guys. I can absolutely promise that. So you guys' help has been instrumental, and support like has been unwavering throughout it all. Even though I was definitely a big pest coming to office hours every week.
You were
And
not. You were not. I mean, that's our job. We love that
yeah,
job. I mean,
yeah,
I I love my job because I get to meet people like you, and like, you know, for us, we were like it's super rewarding when you know, when we hear stories like yours, and even some stories where the project doesn't come to light, you know, it doesn't come completely alive, but very often we do have people who, you know, didn't think they were able to do something and kind of discover their own strength and
yeah,
surprise themselves. And even if it doesn't, you know, even if it's just a small personal app, it doesn't need to be like a big thing. Um, but
yeah,
it's, yeah, I don't know, it's so rewarding. So no, you were never a pest.
definitely.
And you know, no one of us is ever a pest in those office hours. We love doing them.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you and everyone else at WeWeb.
Yeah,
Really
I'll
appreciate
pass
it.
it along. Well, thanks so much again, Luke, for being here today. I love catching up with you. If there's anything you know, I can do to support you now or in the future, don't hesitate. And anyone in the chat, if you have like projects you want to talk about, feel free to reach out. If you want to connect with Luke, I'll what should I put your LinkedIn profile maybe? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
definitely.
I'll share Luke's LinkedIn profile, and Luke is in the community as well. If you want to catch up there, maybe if you have questions, let me find you on the community, Luke.
I would say that's a big offer. I probably will have to take you up on it.
Yeah, go.
Undoubtedly, again,
Sorry?
I said I'll undoubtedly need your help again.
Well,
so I will most
I'm
certainly
here.
take
I'm
that
here
offer.
and happy to help. So, yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, well, great. Thanks thanks so much. Talk to you very soon, and goodbye, everyone.
Talk to you. Have a
Bye.
good night.